Call the meeting to order. Thanks everybody for able to join us either in person or online. We'll start with a roll call, and for board members, please introduce yourself and who you're representing.
All right. Wendy Hess. Mindy Benson.
Present. Mindy Benson, Blackhawk County Emergency Management, representing Iowa Emergency Management Association.
Michelle Bischoff.
Bischoff, City of Des Moines, representing Iowa Professional Fire Chiefs.
Curtis Woden.
President, representing volunteer fire departments.
David Ness.
President, Des Moines Police, Municipal Police.
Daniel Schaefer.
Present, Denison Police, representing Municipal Police.
Dan Fank.
Present, Worth County Sheriff's Office, representing Sheriff's Offices.
Jason Schlutenhofer.
Present, Wright County Sheriff's Office, representing Sheriff's Office.
Angela Clauser. Haley Nichols.
Clauser, member.
Okay, I got you, Angela. Sorry.
Thank you.
Haley Nichols.
Present with the Iowa Law Enforcement Academy.
Cindy Tice.
Present with representing the Iowa Department of Public Health.
Peter Huffman.
Present, representing the Iowa Department of Transportation.
Trace Kendig. Keith Hove.
I'm here.
Patrick Updike.
Present, Iowa Department of Corrections.
Blake Jerushi.
Present, Iowa Homeland Security and Emergency Management, 911 Program Manager.
Jessica Turba. And is there any legislative members on the phone?
Kristen Sunday from the House of Representatives.
Okay. We do have a quorum. Oh.
Any other board members that we missed?
Who else?
Not sure. Any other board members that we missed?
Ken Hope says he is present. But he's having some audio issues.
I got you.
Yeah, we've got you. Thank you. Any additional welcoming remarks? I'll entertain a motion to approve today's agenda. So approve.
Bischoff, so move.
Huffman and Bischoff. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carries. Approval of the meeting minutes from July 8th, 2021. Entertain a motion. Move, Huffman.
Second, Fank.
Huffman and Fank. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 And opposed. Motion carried.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll just remind everyone, I think everybody has been through this a few times, but if you're not going to speak, please make sure your lines are muted so we can keep the conference line clear. I want to say a special thank you to Sheriff Chad Leonard and Terry McClanahan and the folks at Dallas County for letting us host the meeting here in Dallas County. It has been since March of 2020 since we last met in person, and it's good to see everybody again. And I know not everybody could attend today, but it feels good to be meeting in person. Just a heads up for everybody here, we will be playing this on a month-by-month basis on whether we are meeting in person or not. We do want to be mindful of current events that are still ongoing, but we also want to try to make sure that we can conduct as much business as we possibly can. So that being said, again, thank you to Sheriff Leonard and Terry and Dallas County in general for hosting us today. Really appreciate letting us use their facilities for the entire morning here. My report this month will be relatively abbreviated. I was out for a week on a family trip, so my material today will be a little bit shorter. I'll roll right into it. The control station update for the PSAP grant program we had, I have filed for our closeout form to officially draw that program down. Overall, that program has been a success, and we were able to get every PSAP connected to Essex in the state of Iowa, which is a huge accomplishment. And again, a huge thank you goes out to every single one of the board members, Isicsb for offering us financial assistance with that, and all the PSAPs that installed that equipment. That is absolutely tremendous effort that has led to a lot of successes here in Iowa, and we've experienced that recently with notable events like RAGBRAI. We will be experiencing with the State Fair and numerous other events that happen every day. So again, thank you to everybody for helping make that program a resounding success. We are continuing to coordinate on our duration of response for Clinton County. You may recall a couple of months ago that the deployment in action was wound down. We continue to support Clinton as much as we can. They are in a steady state right now in Clinton, so that's good. They continue to run operations off of our SDR trailer where it is temporarily installed at ADM. And things there are going fairly well with their recovery and build-out. Still been coordinating with HSEMD on the FEMA reimbursement process. Again, we have sent our documents into FEMA. I don't have any new updates to pass on this month, so consider that to be steady state at this point as well. Quick update on some of the regional trainings that we've done. We did that virtual refresher training for the RAGBRAI counties on July 20th. That was successful. We got a lot of good feedback from that. That was an abbreviated session that basically gave them a quick refresher and crash course on the use of Essex, and that helped out a lot during the route. We also had our in-person training that I assisted with on July 29th. That was also successful and pretty well attended. We're still working on Region 5, locating some of the facilities and logistics for that, but I do see some members from other regions present in the room or on the go-to meeting with us today. If you have a facility that we would be able to use for in-person Essex training within your region, please let me know. We'd love to have a couple of sessions for each region just to make sure everybody has the opportunity to access that training. We're also still offering one-on-one training for agencies. Again, that's at no cost to the agencies. We can do the broad brush training, we can do a dispatcher-specific training, and we can do a situationally based training for the in-the-field personnel that is entirely situationally based. So those three options are available at no cost to agencies. Quick update on status board. We continue to work on the updates for that program with the state of Minnesota. Been working on a joint MOA with them for how that would be rolled out and accomplished. We have run it through legal here in Iowa, and it is going through the contracting office in Minnesota. I got notice back from my Minnesota contacts that they're nearly done with their evaluation, and we'll be working towards the finish line on that one. Once that legal agreement is done, the way this will play out is that once they're done with their updates, they will pass down their source code to us. We'll work on contracting for the updated stuff that we want to have added to it here. We'll complete that, we'll install it, and then we'll send the new source code back to Minnesota so they can also gain something from the agreement between two states. It's really an example of resource sharing between two states that can work very, very well. Operationally for status board, please keep in mind that we may still be seeing some routine site maintenance on Essex. Updates on those sites that are going through maintenance will be posted on status board under the site status tab. Once again, just please click on the top column twice to sort by a status update, and the sites that are experiencing maintenance at that time will be filtered towards the top. One last thing available for agencies today, I would encourage everybody with all the special events that are ongoing this and next week, and even through the rest of the year, make sure your dispatchers and your PSAP and comms managers are routinely checking status board to make sure that they know what resources are being used versus what resources are available, just so we don't inadvertently hurt someone else's communications plan. So for those of you that have status board or don't have status board, again, the service is available at no cost to your agency. So if you haven't signed up for it, please do. And we also offer training on this as well. One final item of business, our FOG, EFOG, and TICP meeting has been pushed back to the end of September. That, again, is our work towards building an Iowa interoperable field guide. That meeting will be held at the end of September, and it will be at DPS headquarters. So if you have any questions on that, you can let me know. If you're interested in attending, please let me know as well. That's my report for the day, Mr. Chair. I will pass it back to you and take any questions.
Hearing no questions, we'll move on to the user group committee. That's 911. Sorry, Blake, almost missed you. You're up next.
All right, thank you. Just as a reminder, the 911 Council meets prior to this meeting. If you missed it, it will be posted to YouTube and available to review there. A couple highlights from that. We did have a quick kind of presentation. We are trying to reinvigorate TERT, telecommunicator emergency response teams within the state. In the past, I don't know that that has been particularly owned by anyone. So we don't have any old files or any historical documents to run with. So if anyone has anything or if anyone is interested in that program, just get with me and we'll get that information to where it needs to go. So if you have anything, let me know. We did approve one course for training. Marshall County was approved for APCO's course, Bullying and Negativity in the Communications Center. So if you're interested in that, you can either let me know or Rhonda Groudis with Marshall County. For those that have kind of been keeping up with our shared services effort, at this point, when you look at the PSAPs either on board or signed up to go live, we're at about 43 PSAPs. So a significant portion in the state has decided to participate in that program. Just mostly for awareness purposes. That concludes my briefing. If anyone has anything, I'll take questions.
Yes, Blake? Sure. For those who go to meeting, Chris Myers here. Mentioned this morning during 911, but I thought it might be advantageous to mention it again. There are some parallels between TERT and our incident tactical dispatcher courses that are offered through CISA and ICTAP. Plan on reaching out to you about that as well, just to make sure that we don't duplicate any efforts and that we keep it streamlined.
Thank you both. We will now move on to the Essex user group today. Sheriff Sittenhofer.
Yeah, the user group committee met in July, reviewed 3 applications. The system builder has no issues with the loading on all 3 systems. You'll see those listings for those new users being brought up in new business to be approved. Also, we're working on an application plan to include paging to the talk groups. And once we get that talk through, we'll bring it to the board for approval. I have nothing else for you.
Thank you, Jason. Chris, I think you've got the Finance Committee report.
Yes, Mr. Chair. I can go ahead and handle that. So for the month of July, our expenditures for the month were $983.91. The available monies left over within that fund are $229,693.66, and that's for the Broadband and Interoperable Communications Fund. We have received our allocation for state fiscal year 2022, so that is also reflected in our available balance. So that is good. We continue to operate as we have been with those appropriations. However, I did want to bring something to the group today. We have been working on several financial components for the board and its needs since SLIGB 2.0 has been closed out. For us, that was a significant revenue source that paid for salaries and benefits for a couple of positions that service the board and its activities. And now with that grant being no longer in existence, we do need to figure out a contingency plan for that. The one thing I will say is that the DOT has been gracious enough to allocate $40,000 in money that they have to help subsidize staff positions associated with the Isicsb. So I did want to thank Vice Chair Huffman with the DOT for his and DOT's assistance with that. That helps out tremendously. Looking ahead, though, it's going to be in our best interest to really think about our appropriation. As you may recall, that was reduced by approximately $50,000 in fiscal year 2018. Given that we had SLIGB 2.0 at the time, we were able to absorb quite a bit of that. However, now we will need to request an appropriation increase to cover salaries and the expected expenses that the board will incur over time to make sure that we have enough revenue to cover all of that. If you are wondering what we may have going on, we want to provide more training opportunities. We have SCR trailers that may need some updates over time as well. A lot of those trailers are getting to be around 10 years old, so we're starting to think about equipment replacements and things like that. In order to get this done, any request for an appropriation increase would likely have to be endorsed by the board chair. This would be something that we could do with a simple letter, and then with that support, the request for the appropriation increase could be done. Once again, keep in mind, we did have our appropriation reduced by about, I guess it's closer to $40,000 in fiscal year 2018. If we look at something a little bit more sizable than what it was reduced by, we'll be able to set ourselves up for a little bit longer term with those appropriations. So I guess I'll kind of open it up there, Mr. Chair, with your permission to see if there's any thoughts from the board members in attendance or online about that.
Sure, and just to clarify, Chris and I have discussed this along with Captain Pierce. This would be seeking a larger state appropriation through the state budgeting process. So ultimately the decision is made by others, but I think we would just be making known what we deem as critical level of funding, and then ultimately it's in their court. And so, as I understand, there's a deadline approaching here within a couple of weeks, so I'll work with the two I just mentioned, Rick and Chris, to draft something that would kind of make us whole from those prior losses of both the grant funds and the reduction, and also potentially a modest amount to start the process of updating the equipment in these trailers and continue with some level of training. So if there's a general consensus from the board, it's not a decision that ultimately is made by us, it's made by the state legislatures. So I think it's certainly within our purview. I don't think the exact amount is probably something we need to arm wrestle today. Ultimately, it will be decided by others, but if there's general consensus, I'll just go ahead and draft a letter as described and in that manner. Seeing heads nodding, we'll take that as affirmation to proceed in that and put that direction, Chris. All right, sounds good, Mr. Chair. I'm sorry, we have a few people in the room, but I do want to open for keep the topic on the table here just for a moment. Any other board members on the phone with or go to meeting with additional considerations or thoughts on that?
Bischoff concurs.
Voting also.
Sounds good. Thanks all. All right, on to the governance committee. Chair Huffman.
The governance committee met on August 2nd. We had no new business to discuss and ended the meeting.
All right, operations, Michelle, if you're still on. Operations committee with Chair Bischoff.
Yes, the operations committee met on July 21st, continued our conversations regarding encryption. We're not yet to the point of having something that is shareable. We're still working through an outline, but we are working toward policy that will be then shared amongst all the committees for conversation and vetting. And so stay tuned, more to come. Questions for operations? Thank you.
Thanks for your report. Thank you. We'll move on to outreach.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Outreach is sending out a newsletter routinely about a week after the board meeting to make sure the content is fresh. That continues to work well. We did have our larger Essex training Region 2 outreach session at the end of July. That was our first chance to wade back into those waters since the pandemic started, and overall it went very well. The feedback was positive, and one of the things we tried to do with that outreach committee meeting, or that outreach in Region 2, in addition to the training, was include information from FirstNet, other state agencies like ILEA, HSDMD, IDPH, and all of that information was very, very well received. The feedback we got on that was exceptionally positive, and given that, I think we have a good program template to go forth with for the other 5 regions as well. One thing too, I do want to extend a Tremendous thank you to Joel Roney, Brian Blodgett, and Andy Flagg for helping us get that set up in Region 2, and also the Mason City Public Library for hosting us. I know, given the events over the last year, it's been difficult to host in-person meetings, but we were able to really get some good stuff done. So we're going to continue to work, again, on those other 5 regions and finding facilities to host these sessions. And if you have any facilities that you're willing to donate for the day, we'd love to hear from you. So that's the outreach report, Mr. Chair. I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you. Related topic with training, perhaps. Chair Nichols, would you be?
Thank you, Chair. Short report today. We did meet on July 28th and approved some updates to the slide deck for the air ambulance 1.5.2. And so the next step is to go with the script and start the voice-over video for training on that, and they will begin working on that. And then we also reviewed the position task book for Robbie Johansson. That'll be part of the new business this afternoon, or today, and then I'll pass over to the Myers for.
Yes. We did have a virtual COML that was delivered as well. That overall was a success. We had 15 people sign up for that, which for a virtual session such as that is the max. We had 1 or 2 have to drop out for personal reasons, which tends to happen as well. We have learned quite a bit from that delivery of that course. I think it gives us a fair amount of confidence that if we had to deliver one of those sessions virtually again, we certainly could. That could be to our benefit, especially when it comes to some of the prerequisites, such as ICS 300, that we have had very high demand for in the state and very little opportunities for some agencies to have their personnel go through that course. The one thing that we may want to consider long term is that we may have to geographically limit the potential out-of-state attendees. Standard practice within TA deliveries such as this is to open it up to in-state personnel first, and then if we have spare seats, open it up outside of our borders to try to help out other states that may have a need. Other states have done it for us, we've done it for them. The one thing that we have learned is that we may want to geographically limit that to maybe some states that are more directly our neighbors. We did have some attendees sign up from California and did create a little bit of logistics issue with some of them. And also just figuring out how the other states do business as opposed to us. From what I've been able to see, our neighboring states in Region 7 and even our border states in Region 5 do business a lot more similarly to the way we do it. So we may want to look to kind of limiting those virtual offerings for outside states to our neighboring states of the 6 that border us directly, and then also Kansas. Otherwise, everything went really smoothly with that. I'm looking forward to having more training opportunities coming up down the road, such as an in-person state-sponsored COML later on this year. I think that'll be a good opportunity for us also to get someone else not only trained in the art of the COML, but also as a COML instructor with Rick Morrison from Cedar Falls State Radio. So, Training Chair Nichols, I'll go ahead and pass it back to you.
I have nothing further. No first question.
Thank you, Haley and Chris, for your report. On to the Technology Committee with Chair Updike.
Thank you. The Technology Committee met on July 22nd and August 3rd. Over the last couple of months, we've been trying to develop an ICS 217A for trunk system talk groups, which would include all of the interoperability talk groups. We wrapped that up on the July 22nd meeting and submitted that information to operations, and this ICS 217A includes all of your 9 talk groups per region, state talk groups, and emergency management. As we moved into August 3rd, the discussion of encryption for those talk groups came up, and so with the input of our committee members, we came up with some concerns, suggestions, talking points, etc., and we emailed all of that to operations. Now, I know they're already discussing that topic. So we let operations know that we were interested in how they were doing things and what they were doing. So we're hoping to maybe have a crossover event with both committees to look at that. So from a technology standpoint, yeah, we know encryption will work on them. We didn't feel that it was technology's role to get into the operational part, but we still want to be involved with operations and see how they're doing with that. So as Michelle said, more to come on that. So that's been our main topic of discussion for the month. And that's it.
And Patrick, we haven't met since I received that email. So we will discuss it. We just haven't had the opportunity. So thank you for the information. Good thoughts and questions I will pose to our group. Thank you.
Patrick, I'm impressed that we have as many participants as we do today, and the busy summer schedule to bring your group together twice in late July and early August. Applaud your efforts. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, FirstNet Broadband Committee, Chair Bischoff.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, the FirstNet Committee did meet this month, and it was a standard meeting. Much of our conversation centered around how FirstNet AT&T was able to augment some of the overnight locations for RegBri. So that was good, and there were some lessons learned there. And next year's RegBri will be even better. Primarily, our issue this year was time. We ran out of it and had challenges getting in contact with the appropriate people in the overnight cities. But generally, the experience was positive. So that was a win for FirstNet, but there's room for improvement as well. The other thing that I wanted to bring to the board's attention is that on September 21st, we will be meeting with FirstNet and AT&T to have a ROG meeting. It is my understanding that this is a meeting that will have an opportunity to have the right people at the table and be able to voice our concerns and experiences with FirstNet. Chris, am I characterizing that correctly?
Yes, you are, Michelle. Good meeting to get people at the table that would need to be there to talk about potential FirstNet deployments at any one given time in the state of Iowa, to lay the groundwork for that to be smooth. Really going to be a good chance to develop a relationship with that group and figure out any differences in processes that need to be remedied. So if there ever is a need for a deployment like that, the process is smooth and quick.
So looking forward to that, and after that meeting, I'll report out as to what findings there are and what, if anything, we need to change or policy, et cetera, to ensure that we are best positioned to link into additional resources when they're necessary, and then also that users know that those are available and how to connect to them. So, thank you.
Michelle, did you use an acronym to describe that committee, and if so, what was it? Or not the committee, but the meeting that's coming?
And it's meaning, I had it here.
I think it's on operations group. Yeah, it's response operations.
Yeah, response operations group. Yep. That is correct. Thank you. Whoever filled in the blanks.
All right, on to other reports, and we'll start with information sharing between board members.
Lieutenant Ho, are you able to get good audio across? I know Luke Erpelding sent us some success stories from RegBri. I didn't know if you wanted to cover them or not. I don't know if Lieutenant will be able to voice those, so I'll just go ahead and read some responses we got. following RAGBRAI, Luke Erpelding of Storm Lake State Radio reached out to the RAGBRAI counties to see how things went overall. The event when it came to Essex was very, very well done and very well coordinated as a whole. I'll just kind of read a quote from a stakeholder we had in Plymouth County. It reads, quote, for Essex, it seemed to fit the ticket to connect the group together very well for the ride. So that was some very good feedback from there. We also had some feedback from Webster County. Fairly lengthy response, but the key thing here is that he talked about how things used to work. This comes from Dylan Hagan, their emergency manager. He said, in previous events, we were always limited to 2 to 3 VHF channels, which included DLAW 31 in our main operational channels, which created very limited communication and caused a lot of missed traffic. He goes on to say, now having resources that can take us off the main operational channels and talk to maintain the same reliability, such as what you get with Essex, has been remarkable. So that's really, really solid feedback on RAGBRAI. And having the ambulances and the bike riders on the statewide TAC worked really well. The agencies were also able to set up a regional TAC for their overnight or special locale operations, and that all went really, really smoothly. I don't think I heard any negative feedback from any one particular agency using Essex throughout the course of RAGBRAI. So very good feedback overall.
That likely involved city, state, county, emergency management, private ambulances, everybody we usually
state agencies, yeah. I mean, if you want to talk about something that worked at all levels of government, this was it.
Excellent, thank you. Anyone else on the phone or go to meeting with information sharing amongst board members? All right, we have a report today from the Motorola project manager. Hearing none, we'll move on to the Essex System Administrator, and as you know, this is a by committee report. Today is Connie Stufflebeam on. Connie or anyone with Essex System Administrator?
She's on, but I think she is still muted. While she gets her microphone unmuted too, Mr. Chair, I did forget to mention we had one of our other SDRs deployed in the field for RAGBRAI. Created a patch in the field between a VHF user and Essex, and that also worked exceptionally well. So that goes to added value to those SDR trailers we house. Connie, I see you've unmuted your line now. Are you there, Connie?
Well, Connie, we'll come back to you if you feel free to interrupt if you're able to join with audio. Move on to the next agenda item, which is AT&T FirstNet update. See Tyler coming forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sure. So we did have no new sites added in the month of July, but we did have a good response regarding RAGBRAI efforts. So we deployed, based on a couple of meetings the week prior, decided to deploy a stackhold asset across the route for RAGBRAI. That stackhold asset is basically a satellite uplink to provide localized FirstNet coverage to the overnight sites on RAGBRAI. We had a couple of responders from the local counties and law enforcement contacts that requested them, and some that did not. Some process issues like Michelle identified will be addressed in our ROC meeting to improve those processes. But we did have a deployment in Lamar where the site was picked off, where the rigs picked off. We had a last-minute deployment in Sac City. No deployments on day 3, 4, or 5 in Fort Dodge, Iowa Falls, or Deer Falls. We did not deploy in Melissa, but we did deploy into Witt and Clinton County. We also had emergency deployment kits for those entities that did not have adequate coverage on their commercial carriers. So those are basically smartphone devices that allow them communication on the FirstNet network. So we deployed those to Lamar's, Webster County, and then also to DeWitt and Clinton County. So we had good response from those users. We did figure out that there was an issue with an agency that wanted ESAC home deployment and didn't know how to request one. So we'll identify those with the user and then also at our meeting on the 21st. Other than that, no new updates.
Excellent, thank you. I'm a bit behind on my emails from the last couple of days. I'm not sure if Kevin Nida was able to join us today or not.
I'm here, sir. Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board, and members of the audience. Kevin Nida here, Senior Public Safety Advisor with the First Net Authority. And just to recap our latest update, the board should have received an update from Holly on latest news, discovering how FirstNet is transforming the future of emergency communications at APCO 2021, and FirstNet and wildfire response operations. So 5 things you need to know, and it's not just limited to wildfire. Know how to request a FirstNet deployable asset for wildland fire incident or any incident where you would need a deployable. Incorporate FirstNet into your agency's standard operating procedures or SOPs. Pre-configure, update, and maintain devices. Consider hotspots and train your team on using your cache of FirstNet devices applications in advance. And know how and when to rely on FirstNet Central to extend priority access to your supporting team and entities or gain situational awareness on network status. So FirstNet Central has been extremely helpful in first responders actually locating specific sites in the area to be able to optimize coverage for their particular incident. In addition, we have a couple of new podcasts out. 56 is Drones and FirstNet Enhancing Situational Awareness for Delaware Police Officers. Episode 55 is Helping Wyoming responders, first responders prepare for fires, floods, and blizzards. We have a future webinar coming up this month, August 25th. I'll be presenting with my counterpart, Chris Baker, on how to maximize your FirstNet coverage. We talk about the difference between LMR and LTE power levels, barriers that can cause signal attenuation, how mobile modems and routers can extend your range, et cetera. So it's semi-technical. And our next board meeting is August 18th from 11 to 1300 hours Eastern time. So, Mr. Chair, I'll turn it back to you and take any questions that you might have.
Thank you for the report, Kevin. I don't see any questions. Move on to the CISA ECD update by Jim Lundstedt.
Good morning, Chair Hess, members of the board. Provided a very brief slide deck, a couple of things I wanted to brief for the board. Specifically, you'll recall in 2019, we did a pretty extensive rework of the Iowa statewide communications interoperability plan. And during that, a couple of additional lanes, yes, that's right, a couple of additional lanes were identified for the SAFECOM continuum. The interoperability continuum has been and continues to be our primary guidance document for support of interoperable communications. I note that the original one was issued in 2008 and focused on 5 key lanes of success in achieving interoperability. In doing research on the history of that, I've discovered this has been adopted widely and customized by other industries other than public safety communications, because the fundamental areas, governance, training and exercise, usage, those are key deliverables that fit just about any model. Chris, if you can get it to jump forward 2 lanes, I want to show you what we did to incorporate changes under, I believe it's the usage lane. The Iowa update actually identified 7 lanes. Your SCIP talks specifically about security, including cybersecurity, and finances. We didn't get to include anything on finances because that wasn't broadly accepted by SAFECOM, but we did amend the lane on usage to include include an element that includes not only security, but continuity of operations, which are fundamental to the success of an emergency communications system model. So the technology lane, not usage, was updated, originally focusing on only voice and data. We've now included security, including cybersecurity and continuity of operations planning. Chris, if you want to go ahead and jump ahead in the interest of time, let's dial down to the ransomware website. And I briefed this very briefly this morning with the 911 board to talk about incident response. I want to make it clear that CISA's role in incident response is typically going to be remote assistance. We're not the primary responding agency to assist in a ransomware incident. Do you think you can get to the website? Will it let you do that?
I'm waiting.
Okay, all right. Here is the U.S. government's latest effort to promote wide understanding of ransomware. This is stopransomware.gov. This represents collaborative efforts across DHS, the National Security Agency, and the FBI's CyberWatch group. You'll scroll down a little bit there. Each one of those boxes at the top is a little video and more details about understanding these. Your web connection is a little bit slow. But down below are certain deliverables that you can click on, radio buttons, and get more information on understanding ransomware. Well, all the way to the end. How can we help? One of the things I'll circle back on with CISA is our role is education, training, awareness, and exercise, correct? We do have a team called threat hunting that will come in and help try to identify vectors and challenge areas that can be shared. Our goal is to prepare government and critical infrastructure to respond to the next attack. Chris, since the slide deck's running a little bit slow, let's run down to one last slide. I had a graphic about priority services, and I've talked frequently with the board and others about DHS priority services, including Telecommunications Service Priority, TSP, GETS, our Government Emergency Telecommunications Service, and WPS, Wireless Priority Service. But I wanted to at least give you a peek at what we're working on in what we call next generation priority services. The slide 2 down there, Chris, that has the little graphic. Let's see if it loads here. It takes just a moment. What I want you to understand is that we acknowledge that WPS is primarily a voice resource. It was built in an era that criticality for achieving government priority emergency use on a wireless network was paramount. That technology remains viable today. But if you look closely at the graphic, and yes, it's an eye test for those of you on the back row, if you look to the extreme right, you will see that there is a next phase where we talk about priority for voice, data, and video. The key is that we recognize the increasing demand for priority on text information and email, as well as video. So that is under development right now. You can see a list of all of the wireless carriers that are present in phase 1, increment 2, and in increment 3, we're actually looking at telecom providers like cable companies and others that provide voice services to establish priority with them through the GETS program. So the key is this program is not done yet. We're going to continue to collaborate with the carriers to try to develop enhanced coverage. But right now, the focus is on getting through increment 3, and then we will begin looking at voice, data, and video. Chris, if you'll go to that last slide with the little group of critical infrastructure sectors, I have just a very brief thing on that. The little graphic with the eagle in the middle.
Yep, it's loading.
CISA is focused on 16 critical infrastructure partners. You see the little graphic there. We talk about not only in my area of focus, which is the emergency services sector and public communications, but you see the 16 sectors that we support, including dams, agriculture, healthcare. My message is this: emergency communications has been one of DHS's success factors since 2008, when OEC, the original Office of Emergency Communications, was created. That SafeCom interoperability continuum, we always talk about the top lane of the continuum reflects the importance of governance. Let's boil off governance and talk about relationships. And my privilege to work with this board, 3 SWCs, several chairs, and many different members here and with your 911 community over the last 11 years. But I want you to take one thing away. Relationships remain the key. We constantly talk about, oh, we need this technology, or we need to add this. If you don't have the fundamental relationship piece, all of those other issues are moot. So as you continue to work to strive to achieve true interoperability for public safety in Iowa, please remember, it's all about relationships. I steal that from a video that we teach in ComL and ComT, but I actually work with the gentleman who coined that phrase, and it is key for everything you do in public safety communications. It's all about relationships. Any questions for me?
Jim, I don't have a question, but I do have a plaque to commemorate the great partnership we've had with you in particular and your office. As a testament to the relationship and the frequent sharing of information, suggestions, and being a point person to help get us in touch with the right people when time is of the essence and when we were facing emergencies on many occasions. So thank you on behalf of the board. Thank you.
You think you can be blind by this?
Give me a second here. Someone's trying to call. Okay, 1, 2, 3.
And you have a screenshot of the client call.
Thank you. Right, excellent report as always. On to the Standards Working Group. Chris?
Yes, Mr. Chair. The Standards Working Group met. We worked on incorporating comments from the pursuit standard. Basically, we took the feedback that we were given, tried to lump it in the document somehow so that it was somewhat cohesive, and kick that document over to operations, who will be adjudicating the comments relative to their merits and content. And we will be looking out to try to invite the commentor as well to make sure that the perspectives are articulated in such a way that everybody understands what the intent was, and then we'll hopefully have that before the board here within the next few months.
Yeah, appreciate the continued effort. This is obviously a crucial area for safety of all responders when they're when it involves the speed and the different operational needs from local sheriffs, state patrol, to municipal police, and there have been incidents where fire representatives and others have even been impacted or nearly by the high speeds involved. So it's not a one simple or one size solution, and appreciate the extra attention that's being given to make sure that it makes sense and is workable for the diverse needs in Iowa. Good luck with that one as it continues to move forward. On to, let's get back, if we can, to the Essex system admin. Not sure if Connie, if we've got that audio solution figured out, or Scott.
Can you hear me now?
We've got you. Super, yes.
Wonderful. Well, I first want to thank all of you for allowing me the opportunity to provide this system administration update. And so first of all is the preventive maintenances. We have completed all of the HVAC and generator preventive maintenance. We are still awaiting the reports from Motorola. As far as the RF infrastructure preventive maintenance, it is continuing. We have been advised that all this maintenance will be continued this fall and will be completed before the weather changes. Now for the July numbers. We had a total of 24,620 radios on the Essex system. That's an addition of 498 radios over the last month. The talk groups, we had 2,579, which was an increase of 68 talk groups. And there was 2,317,747 push-to-talks. And that was an increase of about 150,000. I did want to make sure that you all had the Network Operations Center's phone number. It has been activated since June 9th. So that number is 515-278-5613. And there is generally somebody here in the NOC between 8 and 4:30. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Connie. Boy, those are, the numbers continue to go up with the number of users, obviously, and push to talk, so it's exciting. All right, thank you for that report. Thank you. We'll move on to, you got old business. Chair Bischoff, anything new on the sub-regional talk groups?
I have nothing new.
Thank you. And the Isicsb 12B with Tech Chair update.
Thank you. So last month, the board approved the 30-day comment period for the Isicsb 12B policy. This is the policy that oversees the conventional interoperability channels and those listings within the ICS 217A for conventional channels. I'm not aware of any comments that came back. Maybe Swick Myers might have some.
We received no comments on that, Patrick.
Okay, thank you. So, since there were no comments and the 30-day comment period has expired, I'm going to make a motion that the board go ahead and approve the adoption of the Isicsb 12B policy.
Eric Walton first. Any further discussion? And as you recall, this had been vetted pretty well a month ago before the comments were sought. So all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Exciting. And we'll move the agenda along to new business with Chair Schlutenhofer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We've got 3 new applications for approval. One is Genesis Ambulance Service, a level 1. Second one is Mercy, Iowa City Safety and Security for level 2. Third one is Dickinson County for a level 4. With that, I'd make a motion that the Isicsb group adopt those.
Hey, Jason, we've got a couple revised agendas. I'm not sure if mine's just dated or if maybe it was just a typo or a misspeak, but Dickinson County I have reflected as level 3. Would that be correct?
Okay, I got a level 4 on the paper and work in front of me. I'm traveling, so maybe there was another one that came out that I didn't see.
Yeah, there was a typo on that.
Chris, can you help me on that?
Yeah, there was a typo on that. It's actually level 3 there, connecting core connected comms to the system. Yep. Apologies for the typo.
Okay.
All right, with that clarification, we have a motion from the Essex User Group Committee. Is there a second?
Second.
And who was that, please?
Schaefer.
Thank you, Dan. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We did have, as someone from DPS, as I understand, received a COML credential, which is exciting. However, he was unable to be here today. Robbie Johannesson. So we'll get that to him directly. And nearing the end, we'll open the meeting for public comment. Any non-board members wish to address the board or address others, other participants? Public comment. And I am without a screen share at the moment, but I really want to throw a shout out to our Representative Sunday, who was able to join us today. Thank you for your participation in Essex, and thank you to the rest who were able to participate or monitor the meeting we are just concluding. We'll consider the meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you all.